Now, for some of us, it might be quite a long time ago, but if you can, cast your mind back to your childhood. Were you a smiley toddler, or did you develop into a sulky teenager? Well, there are lots of those.
Yeah, I was both. Research today suggests that people who had a happy childhood are more likely to succeed in the rest of their life.
If you have a happy disposition, it seems you're more likely to get a degree, land a job, and rise up the corporate ladder.
So what does that mean for people who have a tough start in life? With us now, one of the authors of that report, Jan-Emmanuel De Neve from University College London, and alongside him, businessman Terry George, who you may have seen on the Channel 4 programme Secret Millionaire. Very good morning to you both. Jan, what did you discover? That most millionaires were very happy when they were little?
Well, not quite. We looked at a broader set of the population, not just millionaires.
Right.
But let me say, what got us to study this kind of question is because my co-author and I had been rather unhappy with the way that people tend to look at this relationship between income and happiness. Most people look at it quite unidirectionally, in the sense of, does more money make you happier? But what we did is to look at whether, well, maybe there's reverse causality. So maybe money may buy you marginally more happiness, but perhaps happier individuals make more in the first place.
Right. So how did you go about this? Did you talk to people who were rich and ask them if they're happy in their childhood? Or did you ask lots of people if they'd been happy in their childhood and then looked at how much money they'd earned?
Smart question. What we did is actually we went way back into people and tracked people's happiness when they were adolescents and young adults, and then related that to their earnings later on in life. So we've had a long panel study of following people when they were 14, 16, 21, asked questions about their happiness at those points in time, and then we have it's the same earnings for those same people when they're about 30. So this is what we call a panel study.
14 to 30, more or less, and is that what your range was?
Exactly, 14. Okay. So we look at their reports on happiness measured in different and varied ways, and then look at how that translates into later earning power.
So Terry, if the researchers had come to you at the age of 14, what would you have told them about how happy you were?
Well, I lived with no electricity and had to cook on a coal fire, you know, and it's, I can't say there's anything happy about that. But what I did have in my life from my parents was a lot of love, but certainly not happiness. I think that love is more important than happiness. And I know lots of people who have been very successful who weren't happy as children, you know, who had it very difficult, some even taken into children's homes and, you know, taken away from their parents. But, you know, I think that I think love has been a great key for me, really.
Although presumably you have siblings, don't you? And they were all presumably loved by the same parents and got the same amount of love, but you've done much better than they did.
Yes, that's another good point. I have, and some of my siblings, well, one in particular, didn't live at home all the time, and I think that the level of happiness probably, if I was to measure it, I think we probably had an equal level of happiness. So even at that argument, it doesn't say that, you know, I was happier than them and did better than them. So it's, you know, I think that there's probably more research that needs to be done, really.
So Jan, what do you establish as a sort of fact about happiness and future income? If alongside you have someone who says they weren't particularly happy, loved, but then went on to be very successful.
Okay, but well, first of all, let me say that I'm obviously the case of Terry and his rags to riches story is something I admire a lot, and I think the way that he's turned around a negative childhood experience into like a positive source of energy for doing well is obviously an incredible story that should actually perhaps be a reference, an example for many. But the problem with this case, of course, is that he's an exceptional case, but we've studied 15,000 cases, and here what we find is that unfortunately the majority of people that report being unhappy and perhaps also unloved, though love and happiness tend to go together, well, those do not end up being millionaires later on in life. And that's a sadder story
What
to
drove
come out
you,
of the
Terry?
research.
What drove you on?
I think what drove me was determination. The fact that I came from a background of people in my estate as well that had nothing, and it was the determination and seeing opportunities and never giving up. And what scares me a little bit about is anybody who's watching this morning may think, well, I have no chance in life. I'm not going to be, you know, I'm not very happy. I'm not very successful. I'm not very wealthy. But I think you've got to knock their drive. I think that it's important to say that anybody can make it. I'm, you know, a perfect example, you know, coming from not a very good education, you know, a poor background, as I say, but yet for me it's been successful. I think there's lots of people out there that, you know, that need to be told, hey, you can make it, you've got to try.
So Jan, you can overcome your circumstances. They may even drive you to seek happiness and wealth later on. but starting off happy is a handy boost.
Absolutely. A sunny predisposition at the start is a key success factor.
All
Jan,
right.
Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time 13 minutes to 8. This is Breakfast. These are the main stories this morning.